Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Wallace, a program specialist at TEA. We are so happy you are here with us today. We have several members of the Early Childhood Division here today to discuss the Recess Grant opportunity with you. There are a few housekeeping items before we get started. We will be referencing the Letter of Intent, or LOI, document today. It may be helpful for you to have a copy of the LOI to reference. There are a couple of ways you can access it. First, if you are listening live today, you will find a copy of the LOI, including attachments, under the handout section on the control panel to the right of the screen. If you are listening to a recording of this webinar, you will need to access the LOI in a different way. The LOI was posted as a TAA, a To the Administrator's Address correspondence. You can locate all TAAs by navigating to the Texas Education Agency's homepage and clicking on TEA Correspondence in the upper right-hand corner. You can search by date, and this TAA was posted on Thursday, November 8th. As a final note, this webinar will be recorded today. It will be posted at the same length as the questions, which you will receive later in the webinar. It will also be sent out via our listserv. We will quickly cover the agenda before we jump into today. First, we will do introductions. We will cover the purpose of the Recess Grant. We will do an overview of the grant. We will cover critical dates, each of the project initiatives. We will go over program administration. Then we will cover the next steps that you will need to take if you would like to apply. We will provide important links, and then we will talk about how you can submit questions. There are a couple of things to note. Notice that we will discuss questions at the end of the presentation. We will discuss the process for submitting questions if you have any. So please, if you note questions during the webinar, write them down to submit once we give you the process. We also want to acknowledge that everything we will cover today is already included in the LOI. There will be no new information presented in this webinar. It is important that everyone receives the same information and has access to the same information. Finally, content on these slides is summarized and may not contain all details. It will be important to reference the LOI for exact information. As we go through the webinar, you will see page numbers on the bottom right corner directing you to the corresponding pages of the LOI. We would like to introduce ourselves before we get started.
Hi, everyone. My name is Selena Valdez, and I am an early childhood manager in the Early Childhood Division here at TEA.
Good morning. My name is Tamala Olsby. I am a program specialist here at TEA.
This is Whitney Wallace. I am also a program specialist at TEA.
And this is Cassie Longoria. I'm also a program specialist at TEA.
We will now discuss the purpose of the Recess Grant. So the purpose, the Texas Education Agency, as the pass-through entity, is the grantee from the U.S. Department of Education for funding to support early childhood education quality and access efforts. The Recess Grant is designed to increase targeted early childhood technical assistance for programs serving children ages birth through 5 years.
Hi, this is Selena. We will now do an overview of the Recess Grant. All right, TEA will award grants at the regional level to achieve the following 3 objectives. Objective 1, increase targeted early childhood support in the areas of family engagement, coaching, professional development, and student assessment. Objective 2, increase the quality of teacher-student interactions using an assessment tool. And finally, Objective 3, increase and sustain public-private partnerships. TEA seeks to achieve the previous objectives through the implementation of these 3 recess initiatives that you see on your screen. Applicants can choose to apply for one or more of the initiatives. The overall vision of this grant opportunity is to ensure the scalability and sustainability of early childhood technical assistance models statewide. So in Initiative 1, we have general early childhood support. Initiative 2, improving teacher-student interactions. and Initiative 3, Regional Public-Private Partnerships. Dependent on the number and quality of applications, TEA aims to choose no more than one grantee per initiative per region in order to diversify the impact of the grant. In addition to funding for grant-specific activities, the grant will fund a full-time support specialist per initiative per grantee to implement the activities and requirements of the grant. ESCs and/or nonprofit organizations that support early childhood education are eligible to apply for this grant opportunity. Nonprofit organizations must provide proof of their 501c3 tax-exempt status and federal tax ID number at the time of application. TEA aims to select approximately 13 grantees across the state. Applicants may apply for and be granted funding for one or more of the recess initiatives. Dependent on the number and quality of applications, TEA aims to choose no more than one grantee per initiative per region in order to diversify the impact of the grant. Applicants must score a minimum of 65% of the total points on the LOI application to be considered. Selected grantees will primarily provide services to LEAs and early learning centers or private childcare providers in their respective educational region.
Good morning, this is Tamala Olsby. We will now cover the critical dates associated with this recess grant application. The following are considered critical dates for applicants. Today, November 14th, is the first day to submit written questions about recess. More information about how to submit the questions will be given later in this webinar. The last day to submit written questions is no later than 5 o'clock Central Time on November 28th. The responses to the written questions will be posted publicly on November 30th. The notice of intent should be submitted no later than December 10th. Filing of this notice is not mandatory. However, it will assist the TEA in anticipating the volume of proposals in order to expedite the review process and finalize grant awards. Applicants who do not file this notice are still eligible to submit a proposal. Completed LOI applications are due no later than 5 o'clock Central Time on January 22nd. Finalists will be notified to complete a request for application or RFA in February 2019. The due date for the RFA will be given at the time of notification. Between March and May 2019, the RFA evaluation and negotiation process will take place. Notice of grant awards will be issued in May 2019. Pre-award cost will be allowed from the date finalists are chosen in early 2019 through the date the NOGAs are issued. Recess activities will begin in May 2019. Our attention will now turn to the individual project initiatives. The overall recess grant has 3 initiatives. Whitney Wallace will introduce Initiative 1, General Early Childhood Support. And then I will introduce Initiative 2, Improving Teacher-Student Interactions, or ITSE, and Cassie Longoria will introduce Initiative 3, Regional Public-Private Partnerships.
This is Whitney Wallace again. I will be talking about Initiative 1, General Early Childhood Support. This initiative will provide general early childhood support to LEAs and early learning centers across 4 main areas. 1, family engagement. 2, student assessment support, which is centered on providing professional development on administering assessment and reporting assessment scores in the early childhood data system. 3, professional development and coaching. And 4, resource and tool implementation. Selected ESCs and/or nonprofits will hire a full-time support specialist to provide technical assistance. The goal of the initiative is to increase overall quality by providing support in the 4 areas listed at the top of your screen. TEA anticipates awarding 3 to 6 grantees $650,000 to $850,000 each over the 3-year grant period. Final grant amounts awarded will be dependent upon the scope of the project and number of grantees chosen. Grantees must show progress year to year in order to be eligible for grant renewals. Support specialists will primarily provide support in their respective regions. There are 6 objectives for this initiative. 1, develop a needs assessment and strategic professional development plan. 2, increase parents' access to research-based parenting programs. 3, provide support regarding assessments. 4, provide support regarding implementing resources and tools. 5, provide coaching support. And 6, foster sustainability for our early childhood regional support. We will now dive into each of these objectives. The first objective involves developing a needs assessment and a strategic plan for professional development. As part of that objective, grantees would need to complete a needs assessment of current support for early childhood professional development and coaching opportunities in their region within the first 2 months of the support specialist's work. Additionally, the support specialist would create a strategic plan to target gaps in the service area within the first 3 months of their work. Finally, the support specialist would use the strategic plan to create professional development metrics and goals. The second objective is to increase parents' access to research-based parenting programs. As part of that objective, the support specialist would work to increase LEA and early learning centers' knowledge of research-based parenting programs. They will also work to increase parental access to those research-based parenting programs. In order to increase knowledge and access, they will be required to host 2 parent engagement fairs each year. Fairs may be targeted at LEAs, early learning centers, and/or parents. The third objective is to provide support regarding assessments. The support specialist will provide technical assistance on the use of early childhood assessments and the early childhood data system, ECDS. The support specialist will also be responsible for responding to questions regarding early childhood assessment support within their region within 24 hours. Objective 4 includes providing support regarding implementing resources and tools. The support specialist will create a system to ensure all early childhood TEA resources are shared with LEAs and early learning centers. Additionally, the support specialist will provide professional development on early childhood resources and tools as needed. Objective 5 centers on coaching support. Through August of 2020, the support specialist will engage in ongoing instructional coaching trainings themselves and provide instructional coaching in at least 4 classrooms in an LEA and/or early learning center. In subsequent years, the support specialist will train instructional coaches in their service area. They will specifically target coaching in an early childhood setting. Objective 5 involves fostering sustainability for early childhood regional support. Ideas to foster sustainability may include creating parent resource guides for LEAs and/or early learning centers, sharing created resources with LEAs and early learning centers, or any ideas your organization develops that is approved by TEA. The grant will cover a variety of expenses. First, the grant will cover 100% of the support specialist's salary and benefits. When considering a candidate, it will be helpful to look at the support specialist hiring rubric. There are individual rubrics for each of the 3 initiatives. Be sure to look closely at the hiring rubric for the initiative or initiatives you are applying for, as each rubric contains slightly different things related to the needs of the role. Other allowable costs include a portion of the grant manager and/or administrative personnel salary, in-state travel expenses, meetings or professional development to support early childhood support, marketing to promote events, trainings and/or resources, reimbursement for substitute teaching staff when LEA or Early Learning Center staff attend trainings or meetings, stipends for teaching staff attending trainings outside of normal working hours, and other costs for activities or initiative related to early childhood support as proposed by the applicant. All proposed costs will be reviewed and approved by TEA during the grant negotiation process.
Hello again, this is Tamala. I will now give information regarding Initiative 2, Improving Teacher-Student Interactions, or ITSE for short. The ITSE initiative will lay the groundwork for providing direct support to LEAs and early learning centers in the use of a research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool to increase the quality of their pre-kindergarten program. An educational service center or a nonprofit organization that supports early childhood education will be chosen to lead the pilot in select regions of Texas. The grantee will partner with 4 types of educational settings: an urban school district, a rural school district, an early learning center, and a charter school. The settings will be chosen by each grantee within their region to use the identified tool to conduct teacher observations and coach their pre-kindergarten teachers using research-based strategies associated with the identified tool. TEA anticipates awarding 2 to 4 grantees between $800,000 and $1 million each over the grant period. Final grant amount awards will be dependent upon the scope of the project and the number of grantees chosen. Grantees must show progress year to year in order to be eligible for grant renewals. With support from TEA, each grant will accomplish the following objectives for Initiative 2. Create a pilot structure for implementing the use of a research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool to increase program quality. Develop an alliance with an institution of higher learning and a technical assistance entity that focuses on coaching as an effective professional development activity. Assess pre-kindergarten teachers' interaction with students using an identified research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool. Create and implement action plans for pre-kindergarten teachers using an assessment, training, coaching cycle as the basis for improving interactions between teachers and students. And lastly, foster sustainability for continued work in improving teacher-student interactions. I will now go over in more detail each of the objectives in Initiative 2. So Objective 1 states, create a pilot structure for implementing the use of a research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool to increase program quality. The required activities in this objective include the following. Recruit 4 educational entities: an urban school district, a rural school district, an early learning center, and a charter school, and secure letters of commitment from each to participate in the pilot. Choose a research-based assessment tool that focuses on teacher-student interaction. Create a process to document all aspects of the pilot using relevant data. And lastly, create a sustainability plan to continue or expand the utilization of a research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool and coaching model to increase the quality in pre-kindergarten programs. Objective 2 states, develop an alliance with an institution of higher learning and a technical assistance entity that focuses on coaching as an effective professional development activity. The required activities include the following: recruit an institution of higher learning and secure a letter of commitment agreeing to conduct beginning of year and end of year observations using the identified research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool, and write annual reports and a culminating report at the conclusion of the pilot. Recruit a technical assistance entity and secure a letter of commitment agreeing to implement a coaching model that supports pre-kindergarten teachers in improving their teacher-student interactions. Conduct professional learning communities, or PLCs, with observers and coaches to improve the fidelity in the coaching model implementation. And lastly, to assist in the data review for all participants. Objective 3 states, assess pre-kindergarten teacher interaction with students using an identified research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool. The required activities are the following: train all participants in the use of the identified assessment tool. For teachers, that would mean introduction to the tool. For observers, coaches, that would mean preparation to reliably assess and use assessment results to coach teachers' identified needs. And for the support specialist and select personnel from LEAs and early learning centers, that would mean preparation to reliably assess and train others to assess using the identified tool. Objective 4 states, create and implement action plans for pre-kindergarten teachers using an assessment, training, coaching cycle as the basis for improving interactions between teachers and students. The required activities include recruit, hire, and onboard observers, coaches to develop and implement professional development plans for teachers aimed at improving their interactions with students, and conduct PLCs with observer coaches every 4 to 6 weeks to improve fidelity of the coaching model. Objective 5 states, foster sustainability for continued work in improving teacher-student interactions. The required activity includes create a sustainability plan to continue or expand the utilization of a research-based teacher-student interaction assessment tool and coaching model to increase the quality in pre-kindergarten programs. The following costs are examples of what would be allowable under the recess grant. All proposed costs will be reviewed and approved by TEA during the grant negotiation process. Allowable costs for Initiative 2 include the following: 100% of salaries and benefits for the following positions: support specialists and observer coaches, 4 per selected regions. When considering a candidate for the position of support specialist, it would be helpful to look at the support specialist hiring rubric. There are individual rubrics for each of the 3 initiatives. Be sure to look closely at the hiring rubric for the initiative or initiatives that you are applying for, as each rubric contains slightly different things related to the needs of the role. Additional allowable costs include a proportion of grant manager and/or administrative personnel salary, in-state travel expenses for meetings, technical assistance, training, etc., costs associated with conducting beginning of year and end of year assessments on all teachers over the grant period using an institution of higher learning, costs associated with providing training and coaching focused on how to support teachers for observers coaches, training for support specialists, observer coaches, and teachers, reimbursement for substitute teaching staff when LEA or Early Learning Center attend trainings or meetings, stipends for teaching staff attending training outside of normal working hours, and lastly, other costs for activities related to improving teacher-student interaction as proposed by the grantee.
Hi everyone, this is Cassie Longoria, and I will be discussing Initiative 3 of Recess, Regional Public-Private Partnerships, or RP3 for short. The RP3 initiative will allow for ESCs and/or nonprofit organizations that support early childhood education to provide direct support to LEAs and early learning centers to create new partnerships and strengthen existing partnerships. The ultimate goal of this initiative is to increase families' access to high-quality pre-kindergarten programs. The selected ESCs and/or nonprofit organizations will primarily provide coverage within their respective regions. TEA anticipates awarding 3 to 5 grantees, $525,000 through $725,000 each over the 3-year grant period. Final grant amounts awarded will be dependent upon the scope of the project and number of grantees chosen. Grantees must show progress year to year in order to be eligible for grant renewals. Each grantee will accomplish the following objectives. 1, determine public-private partnership landscape. 2, create new public-private partnerships. 3, support existing public-private partnerships. And 4, foster sustainability for regional public-private partnerships. I will now review each of the objectives in more detail. With support from TEA, each grantee will accomplish the following objectives. First, grantees will determine the public-private partnership landscape in their region by conducting a high-level landscape analysis. The landscape analysis may include information such as current LEAs and early learning centers implementing partnerships, an estimate of children currently being served, partnership models, and/or other information pertinent to gaining an understanding of public-private partnerships in their region. The grantee will also create a high-level strategic plan to form new partnerships, support existing partnerships, and sustain partnerships. Next, grantees will create new public-private partnerships between LEAs and early learning centers. Grantees will build relationships with LEAs and early learning centers, identify, implement, and maintain a minimum of 9 public-private partnerships in their region over the 3-year grant period, offer ongoing support through technical assistance and training in the form of professional development, meetings, site visits, phone calls, or emails to new partnerships in the areas of building relationships, communication, collaboration, standards, establishing sustainable funding models, quality improvement, or other areas pertinent to establishing successful and sustainable public-private partnerships. Lastly, it will also increase awareness of the partnerships at the local level, utilizing strategic marketing initiatives. The third objective is to support existing public-private partnerships. Grantees will build relationships with LEAs and early learning centers currently implementing partnerships, offer support on at least a quarterly basis to existing partnerships, and this support can include technical assistance or training in the form of professional development, meetings, site visits, phone calls, or emails. And lastly, increase awareness of partnerships at the local level utilizing strategic marketing initiatives. Lastly, the fourth objective is to foster sustainability for regional public-private partnerships. This will be done by funding and creating marketing tools for local partnerships that can be used beyond the life of the grant, and also contributing content to TEA for the development of a public-private partnership implementation guide. Next, I will discuss allowable costs under this initiative. The following costs are examples of what would be allowable under the Recess grant. All proposed costs will be reviewed and approved by TEA during the grant negotiation process. First, 100% of the support specialist salary and benefits will be covered. When considering a candidate, it will be helpful to look at the support specialist hiring rubric. There are individual rubrics for each of the 3 initiatives. Be sure to look closely at the hiring rubric for the initiative or initiatives you are applying for, as each rubric contains slightly different things related to the needs of the role. Additional allowable costs include a portion of grant manager and/or administrative personnel salary, in-state travel for meetings, technical assistance, training, meetings or professional development or training to support public-private partnerships, marketing to promote partnerships at the local level, such as promotional videos, radio or TV ads, billboards, print materials, social media campaigns, or other marketing tools, reimbursement for substitute teachers when LEA or Early Learning Center staff attend trainings or meetings, stipends for teaching staff attending training outside of normal working hours, and lastly, Early Learning Center staff education, such as teacher certification costs.
This is Whitney Wallace again. We will now discuss non-allowable cost for the Recess grant. The following are non-allowable costs for all initiatives. Costs for food, beverages, refreshments at trainings or meetings, hosting or sponsoring of conferences, field trips, the cost of membership in any civic or community organizations, or the creation of advisory councils. We will now cover program administration. Regardless of the initiative, grantees are expected to do the following. Provide TEA with the resume, interview notes, and the scored hiring rubric for the final support specialist candidate, and you can see attachment 6A, 6B, and 6C for more information. Provide workspace for the support specialist. Collaborate with TEA to establish project goals and metrics. Participate in monthly phone calls with TEA program staff. Collect and monitor program participation and performance data and maintain sufficient and appropriate records. Complete and submit required reports to TEA staff. Host program staff for site visits as requested by TEA. Submit support materials developed by TEA for approval prior to distribution. Implement any evidence-based programs with fidelity, if applicable, and create a sustainability plan for the region. TEA also has responsibilities in administering the grant. We will collaborate with the grantee to establish project goals and metrics, check in with grantees monthly to discuss project implementation, grant activities, challenges, and/or successes encountered, progress towards metrics, and best practices. Collect reports from grantees to monitor implementation and progress towards metrics, create support materials in collaboration with grantees, and finally provide technical assistance to grantees on implementation of grant activities.
So if you're interested in applying, what are your next steps? If applicable, any grant-specific questions can be submitted to earlychildhoodeducation@tea.texas.gov from today, November 14th, through November 28th. Please notify TEA of your intent by submitting a notice of intent to apply via Qualtrics by December 10th. Filing of this notice is not mandatory. However, it will assist TEA in anticipating the volume of proposals in order to expedite the review process and finalize grant awards. Applicants who do not file this notice are still eligible to submit a proposal. Please submit your completed letter of interest application and letters of commitment to TEA via Qualtrics by 5 p.m. Central Time on January 22nd, 2019. Applicants may apply for one or more of the initiatives. TEA will utilize peer reviewers to score applications. Finalists will be notified by TEA to complete the RFA. During this process, finalists will submit a detailed budget, which will be reviewed by and negotiated with TEA. More information on this process will be given to finalists. Please be mindful of the following important links. These links are included in the LOI, but we wanted to list them here for your convenience as well. The first link is responses to questions. This link will also include a recording of this webinar, which will be posted by the end of this week. The next link is for the notice of intent to submit. This is optional, but it helps TEA in anticipating the volume of proposals. The following 3 links are for each of the initiatives that you intend to apply for. Initiative 1, Initiative 2, and Initiative 3. These will all be through Qualtrics as well.
We anticipate, this is Tamala Olsby, we anticipate that you may have questions regarding the recess application. To ensure that no grant candidate gains a competitive advantage by acquiring information unknown to other candidates, any information that is different from or supplemental to information provided in this LOI will be provided only in response to written inquiries. Questions may be submitted to Early Childhood Education at tea.texas.gov between November 24th and 28th. Please use the subject line recess-LOI questions and then your association's name. Responses will be posted on November 30th at the link that is provided on this slide. This webinar has been recorded and will be posted by the end of the week on the same web page as the Q&A. It will also be emailed out in our ECE listserv. We thank you for joining us today for this webinar.